welcome to Forte Catholic. I am Father Anthony Sciarappa. That is Taylor Schroll. How you doing?
I think I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
Now that I've changed identities, maybe.
I'm a priest now.
Oh no, you don't want to do that.
If this is your first time in the show, I'm sorry. Not just for how we started, but for the next hour. I think it's going to be great. But if that's how we start and you're like, what's going on? Welcome to Forte Catholic. I mean, it's got to be here. I have a plan for today's show. I have two pretty crazy stories to tell. You have one crazy story to tell, and I have a prayer. That's our show. So we're going to make a little Father Anthony sandwich. I'm going to tell my story. You're going to tell your story. I'm going to tell my story, and then we'll end in prayer to continue this being a Catholic podcast. Sound like a good idea?
Yay. Sounds great.
Okay. That was my plan before about 5 minutes ago. And then 5 minutes ago, we had some audio issues, and the first thing that I heard from you was a beautiful hymn. Is this a hymn that you would like to share with the class?
Oh, no, it's a song on YouTube. White People Taco Night.
I thought you were making it up as you went. It was that stupid.
No. I went over to my friend's house for my day off, and they're having tacos, and I got the White People Taco Night. You can YouTube it.
No, I don't want to. I would like you to serenade me like you did 5 minutes ago.
Because okay, it goes something like White People Taco Night. We're getting ground beef at the grocery store and shredded cheese at the grocery store. And Ortego sauce at the grocery store. And lettuce at the grocery store. I'm like, it's not limited to white people, but white people like it the most.
It's very silly. I didn't realize this was from YouTube. It sounded made up on the spot. And it was beautiful.
That's the vibe of the song. It was stuck in my head during Mass this morning. I'm persisting out, and I've got the White People Taco Night song stuck in my head as I'm bowing to the altar and getting ready to say Mass.
Is that a sin?
It's not a sin because God made my brain weird, and if it acts weird, that's not my fault. Brains are weird like that.
That's my excuse for all my sins. You made this. you put these weird qualities together.
With that logic. But yeah. I don't think White People Taco Night being stuck in my head is necessarily a sin.
You singing about white people ruining a Mexican favorite while you're about to turn very simple bread into God is very funny to me. Very, very funny.
Yes, it's great.
Okay, I have two crazy stories. The first one being something happened this week. Actually, it happened 2 weeks ago, but I realized that it was happening yesterday. So, if you recall the summer of 2023, do you remember the illness I had for all of summer 2023?
I remember that you were ill. I don't remember if it was a specific illness. Did you have the COVID or just like you had a cough for forever?
No, I had the disease most commonly associated with 15-year-old girls, mono. I had mono all last summer. Yes. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
So I was sick all summer, and it killed my immune system, and it took me legitimately like 3 or 4 months to recover from the young children kissing disease. That's essentially what I had last summer. Okay.
So you get for smooching your wife.
Yeah, exactly. If she didn't have it and I didn't kiss anybody else, I still to this day don't know. They say it's probably from the kids and they brought it home from school, which I guess, I don't know. I hope my 9-year-old isn't kissing anybody, but apparently it's from like sharing cups in school. I don't know. But I had a disease that I shouldn't have had because I'm too old for that disease. Well, yesterday I went to the doctor because I had been, I'll just tell you what I had. I went from having the 15-year-old girl disease last year to this year I have the 55-year-old old man disease.
Oh, can I guess?
Yeah.
Gout.
No. keep guessing, though.
50-year-old man disease. Dementia.
No, I mean, if you've been listening to the show, you've been seeing the signs for years. Me and Joe Biden, baby.
What's the... Shingles.
Yes, I have shingles.
Yes, yes. That's terrible. That's
34. I should not have gotten mono last summer, and I should not have shingles. Most people get it after they turn 50, and God's just like, nah, you're due for a weird disease. It's hot outside. What the hell, man? Why do I have shingles?
Because God was looking at the temperature and said, ooh, it's this many degrees. Time to smite Taylor.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I'm currently feeling what hell is like, just walking outside and having shingles. It's ridiculous. So 2 weeks ago, this started 2 weeks ago, and I found out what it was yesterday. So 2 weeks ago, I just had some muscle tightness. Like, essentially, you know how like sometimes you can get knots in your back, like knots in your muscles, right?
Yeah.
You know, like I tend to get one under my right shoulder blade, and I tend to get one every now and then, like running right along my spine. And a lot of that's just from like years of playing sports and, you know, throwing with my right arm, catching with my right arm, hitting with my right arm, shooting with my right arm. Like I'm just right hand dominant. Yeah. So a lot of times just like that right shoulder blade is an issue. So typically though, because my body always has issues, like I have a full on sports therapy at my house. I have an inversion table. I have a massage gun. I have you ever done the lacrosse balls where you like lay on a lacrosse ball?
Oh yeah. That's
incredibly painful, mm-hmm. But usually, so typically when I get like this muscle tightness around my, you know, shoulder blade or right on my spine, I do the inversion table once and it's gone. Or if that doesn't work, I do massage gun for 3 days and it's gone. Or if it's really not gone, I get on the lacrosse ball and it's gone immediately because it hurts, but it loosens everything up, right? Yeah. I did all that all day, pain medicine, muscle relaxing stuff, anything that I could do, and nothing changed. It did not get worse. It did not get better. It stayed the same. I went and got a massage. I went and paid for a massage, everything, right? Like I did everything that I could to try to loosen up this muscle 1%. And it's like, nah, we're stuck like this forever now. That's what we're doing.
No.
So it went about a week and a half with like no visible signs other than like my muscles don't work and it's painful, right? So just like muscle pain. And then this weekend, I'm laying on my bed, and because it's Texas and 8,000 degrees outside, I don't have a shirt on. So I'm laying on my stomach on my bed, and my daughter comes in, and she's looking at my back. She's like, what's that? What's that? What's that? What's that? What's that? Oh, and apparently I have these red marks running all along my spine, under my right shoulder blade. And I have had before where I've had like a sports injury or something where like if you're working something out of a knot and it's like really knotted up, really tight, there's just like some toxins built up. So sometimes when the muscle starts to relax, to release, the toxins just get pushed out. I've had similar things happen before. So that's all I thought was happening. And then my wife and daughter reminded me consistently every day that's not normal. You should get that checked out. So I did. I went to the urgent care and I told them everything that happened. And they were like, you have shingles. And I'm like, shit, that sucks. So I don't know what God is doing, but I'm not a fan. I'll tell you that much.
So did you have chickenpox when you were younger?
I sure did. That's the entry road into this old shingles business. When I had chickenpox, I was about 3 or 4 years old, and chickenpox was not the worst thing that happened to me that week. Chickenpox was bad, but whilst having chickenpox, I was playing my original Nintendo, like not Super Nintendo, SNES, the original Nintendo. Big old brick. And while I have chickenpox, the only thing keeping my mind off the excruciating pain is playing Mario. And then whilst playing Mario, the Nintendo legitimately caught on fire from the inside. Bye-bye, Nintendo. Woo! Yeah. Trauma.
That's traumatizing. So do you get any, I know some old people who have gotten shingles before, but never asked them a lot of questions. Seemed imprudent at the time, but since this is what we're doing, do they give you drugs for this sort of thing? Like,
it probably isn't prudent now, but you know, whatever. Yes, they do.
But this is what we're doing.
Right. So they give you like an antiviral medicine that they even told me like, this doesn't do much. I'm like, well, thanks. So it's the size of a, usually they call horse pills the size of pill that they give to horses. Mine's the size of a horse. Like it's a legitimate horse pill. And so essentially it's this antiviral thing. It's not going to fix anything that's happened. Hopefully it prevents any more breakouts or anything. but nothing to do with the pain. I mean, they were just like, just keep taking Motrin. But apparently the reason that it feels like my muscle is locked up consistently is that it's running along that nerve. The disease is running on that nerve. So they did give me, ironically enough, they gave me the sleeping medicine that I was already on. So I already know it doesn't work all that well, but it's supposed to help with like nerve pain and helping relax those muscles. So I'm 2 weeks in with no treatment. And now I'm a day in with treatment, and I'm looking at another 2 to 4 weeks of dealing with this. I'm just thrilled. I'm traveling all over the country. I'm traveling back up to you. I'm going to New Mexico on a mission trip, driving to Louisiana to see some family, all in the next 3 weeks, all whilst having shingles. Fantastic.
That's great. I imagine shingles on a plane is particularly delightful.
It was the sequel to that famous movie.
Snakes on a plane. Shingles on a plane.
Shingles on a plane too.
Yeah. So how long are you stuck with this? You think? Like, what would you say? 3-4 weeks?
Yeah, they said anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks, and they're like, it won't get better until it's gone. I'm like, awesome, fantastic, love this for us.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well that's the story. I have no faith connection whatsoever. I just wanted to tell somebody.
Are you yelling at God? Are you sitting on a pile of filth? Are you lamenting your life?
I am sitting on a pile of filth of my own making. I feel nasty, dude. I just feel so gross. I've showered like 4 times a day for the last 2 weeks. Our water bill is going to be immaculate. I don't know, man. Like my whole prayer. I had just been getting good at prayer, and then I'm like, seriously. This is what we're doing. So my prayer has been, what's going on, man? What are we doing here? What are we doing? What are we doing?
Have your daughters or son put a bell on you and start yelling unclean when you come into the room?
That's been going on since 2012. That has nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
Why would you bring that up?
Sorry.
All right.
How much we were sharing.
That's my story. But you almost killed a teenage young man. Why don't you tell that story?
No, I did not. He almost killed himself. So 2 weeks ago, I was the pastor of my parish because my pastor was away on vacation. And there's this thing.
That's where this story starts to go downhill. That's how you know it's going to be a bad story. Father Anthony was the pastor for a few days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and people just know when the pastor's gone. He didn't say anything. There were no announcements, nothing in the bulletin, because of course not. You don't want to. But like the parishioners and people in general can just like feel the vibes. They can
disturbance in the force.
Air. Exactly. So they're like, oh, let's act real crazy. So everyone was acting real crazy the entire week. Stuff in the parish, stuff I had to deal with. Felt just, and I'm handling it, and I'm being pastoral. One of the difficult things as a priest is that sometimes you need to like. It would be morally correct and potentially beneficial if I just told people you're being an idiot. Stop it. But I can't do that as a priest because then they think that God thinks that they're an idiot and they hate the church and they go away and then I go to hell and it's a big thing. But there are a lot.
It's a big thing.
It's a whole thing, right? So I didn't do any of that. I was very nice and pastoral and patient while suffering heaps of abuse for something that nobody in the parish did anything, on the staff did anything wrong. But it was a whole thing. Okay. So it's Thursday, near the end of the week. I have had a week and I'm going to go get some bourbon. That's what I was going to do. And there's because we're in Pennsylvania, we can't just like go to Walmart to get alcohol. We have to go to like a state store. And there's one right down the road. 5 minutes, not even. And so I'm driving down the road, and you've been on my street. There's a lot of cars parked like on the road, right? So I'm getting to this intersection where I need to make a right turn, but on my right are parked cars, right? So I see I'm about to pass this parked car. Then I move into the right lane so I can make this right-hand turn on to the right lane to get to this freaking store. And as I turn and I'm in the intersection, I begin to turn again, and all of a sudden, bam, glass shattering, something has hit me, right? I pull over right away, get out of my car, shaking, and there's this broccoli-haired was that?
Shaken.
No, not stirred. I'm just shaking. There's this broccoli-haired 19-year-old.
What is broccoli hair? This is important to me.
Oh, it's when you've got like kind of like a curly kind of thing on top, but like the shaved like sides. It's a very Zoomer haircut.
Oh, broccoli. I understand. Okay, continue.
Yeah,
Please
exactly.
continue.
Right. And apparently was at one point in time riding a motorcycle. He was no longer on the motorcycle, and he comes at me and he just starts yelling at me. He's like, "You cut me off!" Like it was impossible for me to cut you off. Like to my right was a car and parked, and then I moved right in front of that car, and then I made a right hand turn into the. Like, how could I have possibly? I didn't say anything. All I said, and he's yelling at me. I said, "Do you have insurance?" And he said, "No, it's a new bike. I just bought it."
Are you in good hands?
Yeah. My other 3 are in the shop. I have no money. I'm 19 years old. And I'm thinking to myself, well, it sounds like you've made a lot of bad decisions in a row. One of them being trying to pass me in a parking lane. I don't know exactly how this could have possibly happened. And he told me to drive away. Just get out of here. I said, no, I'm calling the police. The police were already on their way.
No. I know the direct quote. You said, no, I am a 5th degree black belt. We don't need the police to be involved at all.
Yeah, no, I did not want to fight some 19-year-old. Also, there were a few of his buddies there. They were all riding their motorcycles.
Oh, I didn't see. I've heard this story. I didn't know that there were buddies there.
Yeah.
Wow, you were. I already thought you were heroic for how you handled this scenario. Now I think you're a badass. Good for you, buddy.
Yeah. So I was like, no. So literally, the only two things I said to him were, do you have insurance? And I'm calling the police because I'm not going to have a conversation with this person. It just was not a prudent thing to do. So as I'm on like the phone, I called 911. One of like maybe the only time I've ever done this in my life. And the lady's calmly talking to me, and I can't hear it because there's a sound of the fire department. They're right there. We're like 5 minutes from the fire department and the police station right there anyway. So they show up, and guy gets my statement. I was like, I don't know what happened. I was in the right lane and I took a right-hand turn on the intersection and he hit me. So it's also shocking. Like his helmet must have hit my back windshield because the back windshield utterly shattered, right? And I wait a while, and the officer says, "Okay, you can go." I'm like, "All right." So I did not continue to the liquor store because it was in the plaza right where I was. I felt like it'd be
hilarious,
weird to just walk into the liquor store.
Hilarious.
It was like it was a sad day because like I kind of wanted a drink because of just the week I was having, and then I felt like I really needed a drink because some kid just hit my car and rear-ended me. But I just went home. You
didn't go to a different liquor store? What's wrong with you?
No. I have no windshield. There's glass all over the back of my car, in the trunk, in the back seat. Just
at
everywhere.
that point, just like, what's the worst that can happen? And just keep going on with what you want to do, man.
Well, I also, the thing is, like, I had to go back and lock up the church at 9:00 and repose the Blessed Sacrament and everything. So I didn't have time at that point in time because it took a long time. And as I'm driving away, and the kid and his friends are trying to explain to the officer that I cut them off, he was like, no, you can't drive in the lane that cars are parked, and you hit him in the rear of his car, right, and you don't have insurance. Right. Like, they sat him down. Like,
you're the idiot.
You have done. Yeah. I was like, okay. So yeah. Now I will say this: the only good thing that came from this is that there is something kind of satisfying of the sound of glass going through a shop vac. Because the next day I had to vacuum out all the glass from my car. My insurance hasn't. I made the claim. My adjuster has not called me back. I've called them twice now. I'm just waiting for it. I've got a really cool, like the duct tape and the piece of plastic over the back of my car. Yeah.
Anthony,
I called them. Yeah.
You shouldn't have yelled at the young man. You should be yelling at your insurance. This was weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Anthony, what are you doing? Have you told them that you're a Catholic priest? Maybe that's why they're taking.
It's literally called Church Mutual Insurance or whatever. It's our diocese.
No, that's your problem. I won't make you say anything bad, but that I see the issue now.
You're right. Well, the thing is, like, this happened Thursday. They said get back to me in 2 business days.
So what you really just told me is neither of you have car insurance.
No, I definitely, yeah. I have a piece of paper that says I do. Right. I filed a claim with somebody.
But nobody's listening.
Exactly. And the next week is the 4th of July week, so I guess I decided not to work that entire week. And I called them like Tuesday of this week. I'm going to call them again today, see what's going on. So it's just a big mess. It's very weird driving without a window in the back of your car because you hear everything, and I'm getting like PTSD about like hearing sounds of like cars like really close to me the entire time. So yeah, that was fun. That was a fun week for me.
Now, important question. I wish I
Yeah.
would have clarified this before you started telling the story, but
Sure.
I need to retroactively know. And I have a pretty good memory. I can remember what you said. The important question is, were you wearing anything that indicated you were a priest during this entire scenario?
Yeah, I had the classic kind of like off-duty priest look. I had my collar off to the side, unbuttoned, kind of like say if you're watching on the YouTube. I had just like this, and the police officer was like, "Oh, are you from St. Michael's?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I go to that church." I'm like, "Then you probably know who I am because I one of two priests there." So the police were very nice to me, which was nice. Yeah, but the kid, I don't know if he didn't mention anything about being a priest. He just told me that he has no money and I should drive away. And I was like, well, no.
No, thank you. I'm going to do something else instead.
Yes.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, it is a fun story for me. It's probably not a fun moment for you.
Oh, the best part.
The best part. Oh, there's a good part to this story.
No, we forgot about this. So, what was it? A few years ago.
I didn't forget.
Okay, you want to listen?
No,
a few
go ahead.
years ago, for people who haven't listened, I was driving away somewhere. Where was I going? But it was really icy, and all of a sudden in the highway, all the cars were stopped. It's one of those things like you don't expect cars. There was like no signs or anything. I hit the brakes, and there's a truck in front of me. One of those semis in front of me.
I love that it took you a long time to think of the word truck.
Remember semi
you're like
or
my,
truck or
You're like
whatever?
my
Yeah.
6-year-old. Truck.
Yes. I like trucks. Okay. And I realized that like I'm braking and I'm skidding a little bit. I'm not going to make it in time. So I went off the side of the road and kind of down into this ditch. And I'm sitting there in the snow in a ditch in my car. And all of a sudden, my phone starts ringing. And it's Taylor. I'm like, well, I'm not doing anything right now.
I'm not busy. There's nothing going on in this here ditch.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, I just got into a ditch. And we just chatted for like a minute or two. Like, you were very confused about why I took the call.
Yeah.
And we were worried about my safety.
Why are you talking to me? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then this like this Serbian man was able to get into my car and drive it out of the ditch. And I was totally fine. The car was fine. Everything was fine. Okay. You need to know that story to know that
In Serbia, roads are ditch.
Yeah, he's like, I can do this. Like, he was like, do you want me to try to drive your car? And I'm like, yeah.
It would have been so
amazing.
great if you said yes and agreed to it, and he just drove off. You agreed. You said I drive your car. I
Well,
go by
he
now.
was the one. He was the one driving the semi, so he had a job to do. So
Semi going nowhere. I take car. Bye.
So immediately after I talked to this kid, I'm waiting for the police to show up. I get a text message from you right after the accident. I was like, I can't believe this. Why does Taylor know every time I'm in a car accident?
There's a disturbance in the force, man. Anytime anybody in like my family or my friend group is in danger, I know immediately after. Never before. I can never be helpful, but I can always call and offer a little comedic laugh in the midst of your failure. I provide no actual support, no real solution to the matter. Just, hey,
No.
how's it going?
I think it was some like text making fun of Italians.
It
Somehow.
100% was
Yeah,
a text
yeah.
making fun of Italians. So that's
Yeah.
that's most of our friendship. Oh, I know exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see why you didn't mention it.
I
on
just
the show.
scrolled and
Yeah.
We'll keep it in a general sense.
Correct. It was an Italian joke. That is correct. More offensive, my Serbian accent or the Italian joke that I sent you?
The Italian joke by far.
Good.
Yeah.
We have shown some prudence here. I thought this was going to be a fun little story. I didn't realize that it wasn't resolved. I assumed it was resolved. I'm not now genuinely mad for you. You should be mad about this and call them and tell them that you're mad about this.
I should. I mean, I was planning on calling them today. The thing is, like, I've been so busy and then not driving a lot, doing a lot of stuff in my parish. So, yeah. So I'm going to call them again today and say, my friend told me to get mad at you. Grr.
Grr.
Just
Walk away.
give me a check
Walk
or tell
away.
me where I can get my car fixed. Like,
It's crazy. It's been 2 weeks and you don't have a back window. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. should we close with, or should we do my story, or should we do the prayer now?
It depends on how quickly you want me to call my adjuster.
We're
It's up to
doing
you.
we're doing both of these things. It doesn't matter. I'm just
Oh, we
suggesting
should end in the
order.
prayer. Let's end in the prayer.
Okay. Here's my second story. I didn't choose the shingles. You didn't choose to be attacked by a 19-year-old broccoli man, but I chose the interesting situation that I put myself in this weekend. So
Great.
many weeks ago, I booked tickets to go see Pete Holmes, one of my favorite, probably top 5, top 10 personal favorite comedian of all time. Love Pete Holmes. He have you seen Pete at all? Do you know anything about him?
No, do not know this man.
So Pete grew up in like a ultra religious, like Christian religious group. It seems to be like almost to the side, like to the point of like cultish a little bit.
Yeah.
He's one of the ones that got married at 19 to an 18-year-old at, some Bible college, right? So like he was super bought in to the whole Christian thing. And then his wife cheated on him, and it wrecked him, because he's just like, I did all the things I was supposed to do. I did everything that I was told to do. I did everything that I thought God was telling me to do. And then the love of my life cheated on me, and they got divorced, and then he was lost. So he went through this whole period of being lost, and like went about as far from Christianity as you can. And that was about 20 years ago. And over the last maybe 10 to 15 years, he's always been very open about, and he's a comedian. He's open about most things, but very open about where he is with God. And he's been making jokes about religion and God for this whole time, mostly about God. He doesn't make fun of certain religions. He actually talked about that at the show. He's like, I'm not going, Baptist versus Catholic. He's like, that's not funny to me. But like, he talks about, he's very pro, like, God exists, and I'm going to say it in a funny way that actually makes you be like, oh, that might be actually like better than some of Aquinas' proofs for God. You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty good. But he also talks about an activity that I can partake in that you cannot. That's all I'll say about that. He talks about that quite a bit. And yeah.
I wonder, what could that be?
So anyway, very, very funny, very relatable to my life. God, and these are a few of my favorite things. Right? So that and white taco night, or whatever the hell you said earlier.
White people taco night.
White people taco night. So I married a Mexican. I get real taco night. So
yes.
we really wanted to go to the show. My wife and I have been to one comedy show together with our mutual friend, Aaron Weber, here in town. But most of the comedy shows that I've been to are in Houston with my best friend, Jacob, who you also know. Well, this time I was like, well, let's get a table. That's how it works at this comedy place. You don't buy individual tickets. You buy a table for 2 or a table for 4, right?
Yeah.
So I got the table for 4. I told my wife, we're going up here. And this was like our late anniversary real celebration, because I got put in the weird scenario of Father's Day and our 12th wedding anniversary was on the same day. So I'm like, I don't know, man. I kind of feel like I need to abdicate Father's Day.
Right. That's probably a safe choice.
But I tried, and my wife still celebrated me very well. Like, we essentially did Father's Day on Father's Day. So we were busy that like 2-week span around Father's Day. And so we mostly did Father's Day on Father's Day / anniversary day. So I think the next day or 2 days later, we went out for anniversary, but it was a quick trip. It was like to a sports bar. Like, it wasn't like the romantic anniversary thing. It was just like, hey, we actually only have an hour and a half. We're going to go watch Aggie baseball and go, like, there's this wings place. And like, it was still sweet. Like, I brought her to this wings place that's very political based. I hate politics. She loves politics. And it's this place in town that essentially their whole shtick is like, we want this to be a place where you can come and have conversations and not just yell at each other. So it's like, there, everything on the menu is like, there's a Obama hot dog, there's a Trump burger, there's a Nixon nachos, and like everything is Democratic, Republican, blah blah blah.
Fascinating. Yeah,
it's cool, and best wings in town. So she loves wings, she loves politics. So that's what we did. But it wasn't like, like typically how you kind of go all out for an anniversary, right? So I was like, well, in 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, whatever it ended up being, I was like, there's this Pete Holmes guy, and I want to take me and you, and we can go visit with Jacob, who we both love. And then,
Yeah.
Jacob will leave the show and we'll get a fancy hotel for free with airline miles. Just kind of reminiscent of our trip over to North Carolina. Like, we went to a hotel that we could not afford because it was $0. I can afford $0, right?
Yes.
So just barely.
Mm-hmm.
But so we booked this like 2-3 weeks ago. And then 5-6 days ago, they're like, hey, they got one of them hurricanes coming.
Oh, right. Yeah, that was a thing.
So the hurricane hit land on Sunday night and swept through Houston Monday. So I went to a comedy show at 7:00 at night as a hurricane was hitting, 45 minutes away. And
Nice.
the show was great. Me and my wife, Jacob, and his one of his sisters just dying laughing. So much fun. Pete Holmes came out and he's like, he sold out at least a few shows. He had 2 shows Friday night, 2 shows Saturday night, 1 show Sunday night. Sold out most of the shows. And he even came out and he was like the show Sunday night was almost sold out. Like there was 1 row of tables that was not used. So there was like 375 people there when there could have been 450. But it's Sunday night, a hurricane's hitting the town, and we're all out there laughing to have a good time, right? We don't get the chance to see Pete Holmes all the time. So Pete comes out and he's like, Houston's a nice city. I didn't really plan on it, but I think we live here now because there's just like no way he can fly home. Like they're not going to be able to fly home for forever, right? Because there's flooding, there's no power. Like you kind of need those things for a plane, So he was I'm one of yous now. So it's kind of funny. We put on a great show. We had a blast. We, anytime we travel, we go to these semi-fancy restaurants. We just had a great adventure, right? And the last few weeks have been stressful. So I was just like, look, man, we need this. Like we need the laughter. We need the time, just the 2 of us. We need the time seeing some friends. And so sure enough, we went to the show. We watched our one of our favorite shows came out Sunday night, House of the Dragon. We watched that in the hotel, went to sleep, woke up the next morning. And the hurricane was 100% hitting the room. And the reason that we knew that is because at 7:30, and we're not dumb. Like we saw the we were watching the news. Like we knew what was going on. But I grew up on the coast. Like a tropical storm or level 1 hurricane. It's not level. I can't think of that. Category 1 hurricane. It's like we would stay home for those. We're not evacuating for those. Like it's just some wind, it's just some rain. I mean, whatever, right? When we get up to 3, 4, and 5, we're leaving, right? But we used to have parties on our street. Because I lived 10 minutes away from the beach. And we used to have parties on our street in the eye of the storm. There's 10 to 15 minutes where there's nothing. It's beautiful outside. And you can literally see there's a hurricane over there. In every direction, there is hurricane. But for 10 to 15 minutes, we're just chilling. We'd play baseball out in the street. It was this whole community thing. So I'm like, look, not going to be a big deal. So everything's fine. And we're like, the hurricane's mostly going to be done by around 11. We're going to try to leave around noon or 1. But because we went to bed late, we went out to the show, we watched House of the Dragon, we stayed up. So we were like, we could sleep in. We can just sleep through the hurricane. It'll be fine. Sure. Like we're in a nice hotel. We're on the 4th floor. These hotels and buildings and stuff in Houston, like the big buildings, have to be graded for like a Category 5 hurricane. Otherwise, they can't get any insurance, right? So they're built to withstand 150 mile an hour wind, something like that, right? So if we're getting 70, no big deal. Who cares? So we're sleeping, and I can't tell you how mad this made me. At 7:15, 7:30. So throughout the night, I have my my iPhone sitting on my charger, and so. Yeah. There's a little noise that it makes when it plugs in, like when it starts charging. It's just like a little bloop. So I heard that a couple of times throughout the night, which means we lost power a couple of times throughout the night, right? Yeah. So power went off, power came back on. I don't know. I was asleep. It was 4 a.m, 3 a.m. I don't know what time it was, but it went off a couple of times. And then at some point I was like, okay, that's fine. I reached over. I just turned off the ringer. I was like, okay, I didn't hear it again. And then at 7:30 at night or 7:30 in the morning, we hear a warning call that sounds like it's in my ear. Like it sounds like it's coming through AirPods that are not currently in my ears because I'm asleep. And it's like, attention guests, the power has left the building. We have power though because we're smart and have a generator. And then they repeated that message. I mean, it wasn't that verbatim, but it was that. I was like, why are you yelling at me? I could have slept through this whole thing. We would like you to know that, we would like you to know that there's a hurricane. I'm like, we know, we understand, So Anyway, it ended up being like like along the coast, especially true devastation. Sad for them. I wasn't on the coast. I was in Houston. I was in a nice hotel. Like I knew the decision I was making, and we were only delayed 2 hours leaving, hour and a half leaving, because there was some flooding at the hotel that meant we couldn't get out of the hotel. Once we were able to get out of the hotel, flooding went down a little bit. There was zero flooding on the streets that we needed because we're mostly on the highways and all the highways are raised up. We got home just fine. Everything was great. So some people thought it was funny. Some people thought I was being incredibly reckless. What say you?
I mean, it turned out fine. So
Sure
sounds like
did.
you made a great decision. You had a great
I
time.
agree. I agree.
Why would there be any doubt about this? Like, it was fine. Everything was fine.
It was.
You're good.
It really was. Like, it was just one of those things where, like, genuinely, I tried to think about this because multiple people were like, "You need to leave now." I'm like, "I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving now." And I was like,
where are those people from?
some from, okay, so there was two sets of people that were not fans of this. One, people who haven't lived through many a tropical storm and hurricane like I have. The other set were people that lived along the coast that were like, "What the hell are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm not coming to you. I'm going to North Houston."
Yeah, you should leave. You go
Come
away.
to
I'm
my
fine.
hotel. Yeah. So there was two sets of people that was, taking on too much risk, where, like, the outside people don't know. Like I just told you, we had parties in the middle of the eye of the hurricane. Like, we're built different down on the Texas coast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
But the other people were just like, I don't know, man. And, like, honestly, dude, I was at the point mentally, spiritually, emotionally, if I die because I went to Pete Holmes and like was staying in a nice hotel, pretty good way to go. And what outweighed it was the amount of stress, and like the last 3 weeks were based on, if I can get through these 3 weeks and just make it to that Pete Holmes show and that nice hotel stay night, just for one night. All I need is an hour and a half of laughter and one night in a nice hotel just to feel fancy for a moment. All of that was so much heavier than the prospect of death by hurricane that I chose. I needed the release, man. I needed the relaxation. I needed it more than I needed my actual life. And I'm not joking.
So good job. Sounds like you had a great time.
I did. It was fantastic. So, any other thoughts on this? It was a fun weekend.
I mean, I imagine. I mean, the hurricane makes it even an even more memorable time. Like, that's kind of cool.
We had a great morning, other than being woken up at 7:30. The hotel we were staying at, I think, because has a good reputation. Like, they had generators that powered one elevator worked, because it's a 20-story building, so they have to, like, the elevator worked. There was random lights on every floor that worked. These essentially, like, the lamps worked, like the main lights, the AC, all that stuff went out,
so you can see.
But so you can see to get in and out, and then the entire bottom floor. So the kitchen, the bar, the huge courtyard, the guest relations desk, and, like, you could charge your phones. It's a big thing in hurricanes. It's like, what if you run out of battery on your devices? You could literally do anything you could normally do on the first floor of this hotel: eat, drink, get work done, work on a computer, charge your phone, all that stuff you could do. And honestly, we were, like, incredibly entertained. Like, this was an incredibly entertaining experience for us, right? Not entertaining for the people on the coast. For people in a nice hotel in North Houston, very entertaining. We watched hotel is sitting on, like, a U. We're at the bottom of the U. The left side of the U is the way we ended up getting out. The right side of the U used to be a street, but right next to that street was Buffalo Bayou, which is a famous bayou in Houston. So it was very, like, right outside of our window. We had the whole wall of, like, facing the pool was a window. Yeah. So it's beautiful. We got to literally watch the hurricane come in. I got to watch it do its work. It was fun. Beautiful, 2 pools right outside, a lake right over there. By an hour into the hurricane, Buffalo Bayou was all of that. It took over the street. It took over the pools. It was really fun to watch these beautiful pools become bayou, which, if you're familiar with Texas bayous, it's just brown, just brown, nasty water. The lake and the pools and the bayou all became one. It was very beautiful. There was these 2 geese that were just hanging out in the lake during the hurricane. I was watching the Weather Channel, and I was making my wife laugh. I put my screen out to the window. I was like, ducks, there's a hurricane. Go inside. Like, no one told the ducks that there was a hurricane, and they were just fine. They were like, yeah, we've done this before. It's fine. And they were fine, and they were having a great time. I just thought it was really funny that the ducks could have a whole experience, like apparently what everybody thought I was doing. Hurricane? What? We didn't know this. No one told us. So
that's amazing.
Very, very fun. Okay. The prayer, ironically enough, is about discernment, which many people think that I didn't have this weekend, but I had a great time. So leave me alone. But the prayer is an old prayer that I used to pray every time I went to the old adoration at my home parish. So like when I was young and holy and had time to go pray and stuff, I would go to a holy hour pretty often. And it was pretty small. There was 12 chairs in this little chapel. But there were 2 kneelers right up by where the monstrance was. And there were 2 prayers there. One for the release of souls in purgatory, which to this day cracks me up. Like they're just waiting for me to come kneel down in this church in Lake Jackson, Texas. And God's like, he said the magic words that were printed in front of the monstrance. You 1,000 can go. And everybody's like, hooray! That's what I picture every time.
Yeah. That's why the words are there.
I often wondered if I just say it 4 times in a row, do 4,000 get released in 2.5 minutes? Or
that's how it works. It's literally a mathematical equation. That's how prayer works.
I'm going to do my holy hour, and 8 million people are going to get released from purgatory.
It's a big win. It's a big win.
Big win. So the other prayer is a Holy Spirit prayer, and this prayer really it's this weird thing where it really helped to form me and who I am as a person. The good parts, not the bad parts that you all get to experience. But the holiest parts of me probably came because of all the time that I spent in front of the Adoration Chapel, or in front of the monstrance in the Adoration Chapel. And there's this beautiful prayer. And here is how it goes. It's a prayer to the Holy Spirit that I haven't seen anywhere else. But I had not seen it anywhere else until I Googled it to make sure I have all the words right for today's show. So it exists. Some people have heard it. But if you type in Holy Spirit prayer, 10 other ones are going to pop up before this one. So here's how the prayer goes. O Holy Spirit, beloved of my soul, I adore you. Enlighten me, guide me, strengthen me, console me. Tell me what I should do. Give me your orders. I promise to submit myself to all that you desire of me and to accept all that you permit to happen to me. Let me only know your will. Amen. Have you ever heard that prayer before?
No, it's not ringing any bells. I mean, sounds good though.
Yeah, it's very good. So I've been just, I've mentioned on the show, I've been discerning things. Just what am I supposed to be doing? Apparently get shingles is the answer. But what else am I supposed to be doing? What am I supposed to be doing professionally, personally? What am I supposed to be doing with my life, right? So this refrain, this enlighten me, guide me, strengthen me, console me. I'm in this period of, being stressed out. So much so that I got a 55-year-old man disease. But it's enlighten me. Show me the light. Put light on the situation that I'm currently struggling with. Guide me in the middle of the situation. Don't just tell me the answer and then leave. Guide me through this. Yeah. Give me the strength to do the parts that I need to do, and then console me because this sucks and I need some consolation, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then just tell me what I should do. Give me your orders. It's just I don't know, man. It was just such a huge part of me as a high school kid, college kid, just being what do you want me to do with my life, right? And then I was actually giving a talk last night, and we were doing adoration at a different parish, and that prayer just popped back into my head for the first time in, 15 years, man. This maybe 10. This prayer was so influential to me as a young man, high school, and then when I worked there for 2 years, I would pray this prayer all the time, and it's just not part of my normal repertoire. But I think because I'm in this season of discernment, God was like, hey, remember this? And so I just remembered it while in adoration. It was really cool.
Beautiful. No, that's great. Yeah. I mean, it kind of has it all. It's about surrender and asking God for what you need. And I like it a lot. It's really good.
It's very, very good. All right. So I'm going to post this down in the old show notes for today's episode. But in conclusion, I did not die. I have not died to the hurricane. I have not died yet to the shingles. You did not do a murder. Nope. Any final thoughts on how we're doing in life, Padre?
I mean, We're doing it. It's happening.
We sure are.
It's not stopping.
Life continues. That is for sure.
Yes.
Well, you know what doesn't continue is this week's podcast. We're done. That's Father Anthony Sciarappa. I'm Taylor Stroll. If you've been confused this whole time because I said that I was the priest, well, this is the twist ending. I'm M. Night Shyamalan, and I just blew your mind. I'll be back next week. He'll be back in a month. See ya.